بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, in our lesson on living Islam, we are looking at how to make a marriage happy and how to keep it happy throughout our married lives. We looked at all the issues relating to choosing a spouse. What is the basis and what do we do? And also what not to do. I want to reiterate something which I have already mentioned in the last class, but I think it's important to reiterate it, and that is a word of caution to those intrepid souls who think that they or believe that they can change others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept hidayat in His hand. He did not give it to you. Maybe you can change people, and if so, all power to you. But more than likely, you are like 99.999% of the world, which includes me for that matter, which only believes that it can change people. Anyone who looks at a person before they marry them and say that I will change him or her and then they will be just fine, is literally taking their life into their own hands. If the person you want to marry needs changing, let someone else do it. You leave them alone and go find someone who you can admire and look up to and want to be like, not someone who you want to change. Marrying somebody by looking at a profile on the internet is like Russian roulette. One of the chambers will have a bullet in it. It's a gamble that I seriously advise you not to take. I have seen too many ruined lives thanks to marrying somebody straight out of the internet. I'm not saying don't use the marriage portals or don't use the internet at all to, at least sort of shortlist or find somebody. But once you do that, once you find somebody, go through the mill with regard to checking everything to your own satisfaction. Do not be in a hurry, because if you are in a hurry, believe me, you are going to destroy yourself. If you do not know enough about your spouse, don't marry them. Islam permits you to make inquiries and to meet the spouse before marriage and talk to them face to face. Now please do that. Don't waste your time by just marrying somebody because you are in such a big hurry to get married. Because the price to pay will be lifelong. And that is not something that I recommend, that you should put yourself into that situation. Now, also remember that as far as all the things that I mentioned to you in the last 5 or whatever the number of sessions that we have done on this, 7 sessions probably, all the stuff which I asked you to check, you can find out and you can ascertain to the best of your ability in 2 or 3 meetings, maximum. If something is still a mystery, let them go. Leave them. Do not get married. So, take your marriage seriously, because happy marriages are made by serious people. Take it seriously because it is your life that we are talking about. Now that you are married, let us look at how to make your marriage happy. Now before we go there also, let me backtrack a little bit. Having decided to marry, how will you marry? Because this is another big open area for all kinds of stuff that happens which should not happen, right? And I'm talking about the ostentation and all the customs and practices that we have decided to import into our marriages, which have nothing whatsoever to do with Islam. Right? We call it culture, we call it this, we call it that, and there are practices from all over the place. All of these are prohibited, and they are not permissible, and they are highly, highly avoidable. Please understand that Islam creates a system for marriage and for anything else, but for marriage we are talking about here. Islam creates a system which is easy, which is clean, which is dignified, which is cheap if not free. Now, why would you want to leave that and put yourself in a situation where you are going to be spending a lot of money and you are going to indulge in things which can be haram, and you are going to become a commodity to be bought and sold in the marketplace? Why would you do that? Right? I mean, that would be the dumbest and most stupid thing imaginable if you did that with yourself. But it's amazing how many people do it. So that's why I'm advising you, don't be one of those people who chooses to begin their married life in a way that displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and which is against the Quran and the Sunnah of our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Once you have decided on the marriage, and you have to decide, among the things to decide is also the amount of mahr. Yes, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam married somebody and told him, teach your wife Quran, that is your mahr. These are exceptions. These are exceptions. My advice to you is follow the general rule. And the general rule is pay mahr which is in keeping with your own status and what you can afford to pay. That is the correct thing to do. That is the Islamic thing to do. So pay mahr which is sufficient and which is appropriate to you and your status. Now, once you've decided that, then do the marriage as far as possible in a masjid. Have the nikah done in a masjid, followed by a walima, which you, the bridegroom, will pay for, either in the masjid or in some other place, in your home or something else, right? In the walima, it is permissible for you to share expenses with the bride's family if they insist. It is not for you to tell them, but if they insist, sometimes it happens, but the bride's family say that we have, so many guests from our side who we would like to invite, and we don't want to, we would like to pay for that, so we would like to share in the expenses of the walima. This is permissible. They can do that. But you don't ask the bridegroom side and your bridegroom, you don't ask them to share. That would be disgusting. That would be highly, highly undignified. If they offer, if they want to do that, if they insist, then you can allow them and you can participate with them and share the expenses. There is no problem. Nikah in the masjid, walima. That's it. Don't have a party on the day of the nikah and then one more walima, and in between that is a chauthi, and before that is a manja, before that is a sanchak, and before that is a mehndi. Yeah? The bride is not a cucumber to be smeared with spices, mehndi and haldi and whatnot, right? Please, these are customs which have nothing whatsoever to do with Islam. They have nothing to do with Islam. Stay out of them. Don't contaminate your marriage from day one with all kinds of uh, all kinds of customs and practices, instead of following the beautiful sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is the nikah in the masjid, followed by a walima, and that's it. Let the bride go home to you. Today there seems to be another trend which is of long so-called engagements. First of all, there is no engagement in Islam. Right? So having an engagement, giving a ring, all of this is not from Islam. Secondly, what people do is they do the nikah, but they say we are not doing the rukhsati. The bride will not go to the bridegroom's house for 2 years. And only after 2 years she will go to the bridegroom's house. This is not from Islam. Please understand. This is from your nafs. Don't distort the Sharia. Once the nikah has been done, that man and that woman are legally married. Right? You can send or not send, makes no difference. If they want to live together, they can live together from 5 minutes after the nikah. So don't play games. Don't play games with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't want to get married for 2 years, don't get married for 2 years. But if you get married, then let them go and live life together as husband and wife, because that is what the marriage is supposed to be. Right? So I'm not saying that having some time between the nikah and the rukhsati, the bride coming to the husband's house, I'm not saying that this is to have some time is haram or something, but it is definitely not the sunnah. When Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam married his daughter Fatima to Zahra radiallahu anha to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he immediately sent her to Ali's house, radiallahu anhu's house. Right? So that is the sunnah. Sunnah is not to keep your daughter with you for 2 years or 1 year or whatever it is before you send her to the bridegroom's house. So follow the sunnah, because in that there is khair and barakah. Now that you are married, and let's see how you can make your marriage happy and how you can keep it happy. Now, somebody asked me 20 questions about this, and I hope the answers which I gave will cover all aspects of the matter. So the first question was, what are the characteristics of a happy marriage? What are the characteristics of a happy marriage? I say truth, caring, and mutual respect. I call these my 3 cardinal principles of happy marriages. Truth, caring, and mutual respect. My 3 cardinal principles of happy marriages. Please notice that I am not using the word love. Love comes out of these 3 things. What is called love is usually physical desire. The shape or size of somebody's body is not the inspiration. It's not the inspiration for love, and it can be, if that is inspiration, then really it is infatuation and lust, but not love. For love to happen, the lasting kind, that is, the love which will remain, and the love which grows with age, and the longer the time you spend together, the more you love each other. For that you need truthfulness, you need caring, and you need concern for one another. It needs putting the needs of the other before your own, and doing that joyfully, not like a servant or something, not like a slave. Doing it joyfully. You would love to do that, hurrying to do that. And mutual respect. This is very, very important. Without respect, there cannot be any love. Now, one needs to respect one's spouse, appreciate their strengths, make them your role model, make them your icon, and be proud of them, and be proud that they are your spouse. Now, that kindles love in the heart, which grows with time, because the reasons for respect also grow with time. Physical attraction reduces with age. It is programmed to do that. Nobody grows more beautiful with age. You mature with age, you grow wiser, you grow more mellow, more patient and forbearing, and more worthy of respect. The love that comes out of that also grows with age. Truth is to express feelings as they are and not to have any pretensions. Caring is to treat the other with concern, because you know that with you, he or she has no barriers, no safety nets. Respect is to acknowledge the value of the trust that is placed in you in allowing you into that innermost of places in the heart in which nobody else has been allowed before. To treat that privilege with the respect it deserves and never to abuse it for any reason. So, the first question, what are the ingredients or characteristics of a happy marriage? And I'm saying truth, caring, and mutual respect. Number two, is there a formula to be happy in a marriage? Yes, there is. Marry someone who you believe is worthy of emulation, someone you can look up to and learn to forgive them. The formula of now this may look a little bit paradoxical. I'm saying someone you can look up to, but learn to forgive them. The reason being because sometimes when you look up to somebody, you find that they are not meeting your expectations. So learn to forgive them. Also learn to look at your own expectations and say, these expectations that I have are probably not even human. Right? I have the expectations which are by definition impossible to meet. So I need to do something about myself. The formula of an unhappy marriage is to marry someone you believe you can change. I've said this before, I'm saying it again. Don't fall into this trap. It's a sure recipe for disaster. When you marry someone who you think needs to be changed, you are accepting that they are not good enough as it is. Also, in most cases, you would not have asked them if they want to change, and that too to your preferred model. And then you will lo and behold that they have other ideas about changing, and your marriage will be the casualty. The second part of the formula is to be forgiving. We need to forgive one another. What tends to happen in many marriages is that we expect the other person to forgive us, but we hold them to standards that we ourselves are unable to live up to. And we become curiously blind to this very unreasonable stance. That doesn't work. It's good to remember the saying, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Share in each other's lives. That means don't sit with your iPad when you are having breakfast or lunch or dinner. Keep your phones and pads and your screens, make it a rule. No screens on the dining table. No screens in the bedroom. Right? Leave them aside. The world will not come to a halt, and the way the world is going, if it comes to a halt, it's a jolly good thing. So, share in each other's lives. You cannot share in somebody's life when your nose is in your own screen. Take interest in what the other person does. Don't be nosy, but learn and learn to add value. Conversation is both the key to a happy marriage and a meter to judge its health. Marriages that are getting sick start to lose conversation. When there is nothing left to talk about after 10 minutes, and then when your idea of spending time with your spouse is to sit in front of the TV or to read the newspaper in the same room, then you can simply say that your marriage is in the ICU. In happy marriages, there is a desire for the company of the other, not for the company of others. You hurry home because your spouse is there. You don't hit home and bounce off to the club to go and sit with your cronies or to some other place to be with other friends. You want to spend time with your spouse not because otherwise he or she will complain, but because you genuinely want to do it. Right? So ask yourself this question. Number 3, how do you make a marriage work? By working at it. We use this term, make a marriage work, but we forget that a lot of it is actually work. It takes effort, it takes time and energy, it's measurable, and it produces results. Making breakfast for your wife is work. Offering to do her errands is work. Taking the trouble to look nice when your husband comes home instead of like animated laundry is work. Going to the airport to meet his flight is work. You get the drift. Doing what does not come naturally or doing something that is important for the other, even if you don't like doing it, is work. And all of it produces results in terms of appreciation and love. Never complain if your spouse is not spending time with you. Firstly, it is pathetic and undignified to do that. Secondly, I have a rule. Never tell someone to do for duty what they won't do for love. And thirdly, that they seek someone else's company is a message for you. So act and examine yourself and see why this is happening and correct yourselves, and things will come back and things will change and go back to how they used to be. People seek what is enjoyable. So if your company is more of pain rather than enjoyment, naturally they will go somewhere else. As I say, if I wanted to marry a nag, I would have married a horse. At least it would have carried me from place to place. Nag is a gender neutral term. There are male and female nags, and both are equally painful. As I have said earlier, conversation is a good indicator about what is happening to the marriage. Giving instructions, complaining, informing, gossiping is not conversation. Sharing of thoughts, hopes, aspirations, fears, good listening, compassion, understanding, laughing and crying together about issues that are shared, that is conversation. That is what I mean. Finally, companionable silence. Companionable silence is also an indicator of a good marriage. You don't have to talk all the time. It's the quality of the companionship, the quality of the silence. You will know it without anyone having to explain. Let me assure you. But pay attention to it. If there is and see if there is tension or boredom in it. The key is to want to share time and thoughts and aspirations and fears, and to want to listen to each other with caring and respect. Do senseless acts of kindness. Give gifts and flowers and sweets, not on birthdays and anniversaries. That's mechanical. And with Outlook and smartphones, you don't even need to remember. The machine reminds you. Give gifts all through the year. It doesn't have to be big always, though sometimes it must be. But it is the thought that counts. Rasulullah said that gifts increase affection for one another, and indeed they do. So give gifts to each other. Remember to do this, especially if you have been traveling or are away mentally with work for a while. Gifts are the adhesive of a good marriage. The key to remember in all this is that it must be something that you are sharing with your spouse alone. Gift wrap the article, tie a ribbon, put perfume on it, announce it with flowers, use your imagination, make it special. Remember, it's not about the article, it's about creating memories. Her gift is not one you pull out of a sack of gifts for the whole family. It is something that only she gets. It is something she gets when there is no reason for it. It is something that she got when nobody else did. It is something that she got which is special. This is what makes it exclusive, and it gives that message to say that you are special for me. And that applies to the man as well. Remember, men also like gifts, even more than women. So give it to him with an open heart. Playing, another secret of a happy marriage. Couples that play together, stay together. Couples that pray together, stay together. The games and entertainment, sightseeing, holidays, picnics, and prayer, salah. You think of what play means to you and do it regularly. If you play a competitive sport together, say golf, remember to lose regularly. It's not for the competition that you are playing or to make it a competition. And to make it a competition is to defeat its very purpose. So don't do that. Remember that sometimes you may not be enjoying it equally, but that it is worth the pleasure of seeing the smile on the face of your spouse. It's all about the spouse anyway. Think about that. What is a happy marriage? A happy marriage is one in which your spouse is happy. Because that's the only way you will be happy. You cannot be happy when your spouse is unhappy. It's all about that smile. Be genuine. A cosmetic smile is detectable a mile away. Performance is not the key to everything and everywhere. And one place where it is not is in a marriage. The performance appraisal for a marriage is a joint statement that spells the success of the marriage, not of your personal performance. Otherwise, it will be like saying operation successful, patient is dead. In our fast-paced lives today, we don't seem to have the supply, the time to simply be. We are conditioned to look for results for everything. This is highly stressful and detrimental to a marriage. A marriage is for sukoon, for tranquility, for harmony, for peace, and many times that translates to just being together without any results, without any measurable results. Finally, before we go to point number 4, out of my 20 points, I want to mention a very important thing. I said already that couples that pray together stay together. Let me share with you the beautiful hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that man who wakes up for tahajjud and wakes his wife up. And he said, Allah loves that woman who wakes up for tahajjud and wakes up her husband. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if he or she has difficulty waking up, then sprinkle a little cold water on their face. Right? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spoke from his perspective. I don't advise you to sprinkle cold water on their face, or at least if you are going to do that, then be prepared to have your running shoes on before you do that, so you can take off. But the point I'm saying here is that think about this, that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves people who worship Him and who encourage each other to worship Him. So pray together, stay together. Help each other to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Help each other in the work of Islam. Help each other to learn Islam together. Help each other. When I'm saying help each other, I don't mean point fingers at each other. I don't mean find faults with each other. I don't mean make learning in Islam into a painful competition where now you are shooting dalils at each other. Right? This hadith said this, that hadith said that. There are some people who have the capacity to make anything miserable. Right? And whatever it is, it can be the most beautiful thing in the world for everybody, but this person will make it miserable. Please don't make yourself that way. Right? And if you are that way, maybe you are, but admit it, acknowledge it, and get out of that. Point number 4, how can you try and make an unhappy marriage into a happy one? Now that's a tough one, because there is a pre-clause to it. Once you solve that or satisfy that pre-clause, then it's very easy. And the pre-clause is, do you really want it to happen? Do you really want to make that unhappy marriage into a happy marriage? I always ask people this when they come to me with marriage problems and they say, oh, this is happening and so on, so on, so on. Help us. I said, really, seriously, do you want to remain together? Right? If this is some game you are playing in order to justify to yourself the fact that you already decided to divorce, then don't waste my time. Go get yourself divorced. So pre-clause is, do you really want it to happen? Now that may sound like a strange thing to say or ask, but I've seen in many years of counseling that all the failures that I saw were because the partners did not really want to make it work. Both of them were really not serious about that. They did not want that marriage to work. So there's nothing surprising that it didn't work. They were not sincere, and they were merely going through the moves with the idea of satisfying themselves or others that they had made the effort. Now that is a lie, because they never made an effort. They acted a drama with a pre-concluded ending. Once you are sincere about turning things around, then you need to sit down and write down all that you like about your spouse. After all, there were things about them that you liked, enough to marry them. What were they? Then when you have that list, you write down the problem areas. Usually that works like magic. Marriages go bad most often because we don't appreciate the good enough and we are not thankful for what they have. I often ask couples, how many times a day do you thank your wife or husband? How many times a day do you hug or kiss them? How many times a day do you tell them that you love them? It's amazing how much we take appreciation for granted. For most people, not criticizing is equal to appreciating. It is not. It is not. Expressing genuine appreciation is all about being thankful to the other person for all that they have done for you. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one who has not thanked a person has not thanked Allah. He said, he has not thanked Allah, the one who has not thanked the people. Thankfully, Thankfulness clearly expressed and often expressed is the lifeblood of a good marriage. And remember to do that often. That is the key. After all, when things were not going badly, we don't hesitate to make it known. So why not when they are going well? So think about that. Appreciation. It's very, very important for us to treat our marriages with respect, and respect begins with appreciating the good that we get from our spouses. More in the next episode. Sound like a commercial. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and give you beautiful marriages. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.